Oh. Hey everybody, Evan Kirstel here. I am delighted today to have the CEO at Gigamon, Shane Buckley, with us. Shane, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks, and hello, everybody.
Well, wonderful to have you here. It's been so exciting watching your journey at Gigamon, and I've chatted with a number of your colleagues, and it's just a fascinating marketplace at the moment, scary and exciting. Perhaps you could introduce yourself and your leadership role at Gigamon, your journey over the past number of years.
Sure, delighted to. Shane Buckley, President and CEO of Gigamon. I joined the company about 5.5 years ago as the President and COO, and I took over from our long-term CEO, Paul Hooper, just about 2 years ago. I was very intrigued with the company when I joined, given the importance of content, or we often refer to telemetry, within infrastructure today. And so it's been a fantastic ride over the last 5.5 years. What's really cool about Gigamon is we basically sit in the middle of the top priorities that both CIOs and CISOs have. And so we're entirely relevant to what's going on in industry today.
Indeed, you're right at the heart of it. And tell us more about Gigamon's role in facilitating that journey, that sort of hybrid cloud journey for organizations, the tools, the strategies. Give us a recap for those folks maybe who haven't been tuned in.
Yeah, sure. So if you permit me, maybe take a quick trip down memory lane, as it were, just to provide highlights. And so Gigamon will be 20 years old next year. We also talk
Wow.
about Gigamon 2.0 as an organization. And so we created or invented the tap and aggregation infrastructure for networks. So prior to Gigamon, in order to get traffic off networks, you had to take span ports of switches, which is kind of a complex thing to do. It's not very scalable. It meant that you had to have lots of tools everywhere because each switch would have to send traffic, to a set of tools. So it's very limited. Gigamon invented the technology that brought the traffic or telemetry to the tool system. And by tools, of course, I mean NetOps, application performance management, or APM, security, and of course, observability. And so for many years, we became effectively the default for many of the world's largest, most complex, most secure networks in providing reliable telemetry to ensure that the tool stack could do its job, either to make the network operate more efficiently or also to make the network more secure. And so that's been a great journey for us. It's a mission for our company. We take that role very, very seriously indeed. It's not hyperbole to say that we sit inside the largest, most complex, most secure networks on the planet, supporting many of the governments, service providers, and enterprise organizations.
Well, it's quite a mission, and the recognition is really astounding. I was looking at the 650 Group's recent market update forecast, and really rapid growth. At the core of that, of course, is deep observability. But what are the other factors contributing to this market growth that you see ahead of you?
Yeah, so it's a great question, Evan. Again, if we take a step back in time, maybe say 5 years ago or so, largely speaking, workloads sat inside the protection of data centers, and these data centers had a kind of a hard crust on the outside and they're reasonably soft on the inside. That, of course, all changed with the advent of public cloud and SaaS-based applications. Organizations had to deal with the fact that the application stack now operated outside the protection of the physical data centers. And that really started changing a number of paradigms because, over the last, 10 to 20 years, organizations have built up a very sophisticated tool stack. Many of these very large organizations have hundreds, in some cases over 1,000 different tools designed to look at network performance, application performance, looking at security, really to make sure that they adhere to the requirements of the business. With the advent of public cloud and then subsequently hybrid multi-cloud, the attack surface, first of all, of these networks has grown dramatically. Most of our customers have on average 2.5 public cloud networks. They enjoy co-location. They also have physical infrastructure as well. They're deploying their application stack initially in the public cloud. Many of those applications, because of cost, scale, or performance, are now moving back into the physical data center or a colo inside containers. So they still have the modernization element or the ability to move fast and be agile, but they're moving dynamically to different parts of the infrastructure. And so the big challenge that CIOs have is they want to make sure their organizations are agile, they're up to the latest support for the business, and obviously they have a lot of cost containment requirements or doing more with less. On the other hand, the CISO's role is to make sure that the security posture of the organization is maintained. So you think that both forces are at loggerheads or diametrically opposed. The great news with the ability that we have here at Gigamon, you can actually achieve all of those three things together. So you can do more with less because we reduce the amount of traffic that goes to these tools. We optimize the traffic by removing duplicates of traffic. We've advanced filtering capabilities at the application layer. We also ensure that the tool stack can actually work no matter where the workload is. And so we can actually send traffic from a workload, inside a container to a tool stack, either on-prem or it could be in any form of public cloud. So that gives you the flexibility of moving the workloads whilst keeping tight controls on the capabilities of the product. In addition to that, obviously, you can keep the organizational secure because you're also ensuring the security tools get access to all the east-west or lateral movement, also inside encrypted traffic streams. So that's a big, big benefit that those customers realize. But to your specific question, there's a very distinct difference between visibility and deep observability. Visibility is essentially sending network packets to tools in an optimal way, which we've done for many, many years inside physical data centers. Deep observability is adding flows and also metadata in addition to the network packets and ensuring we find a much richer set of telemetry, which can be absorbed directly into tools inside dashboards. We can convert the formatting of that flow into Kafka, for example, JSON interface. So we're very, very flexible in terms of how we actually feed this network-derived intelligence to the tool stack, into SIMs or data lakes for further processing. And that's really the element that's required for many of these advanced cloud-based applications today.
Indeed. It's such a evolving and scary threat landscape today. Every day you wake up to the text press and, there's a jaw-dropping moment. First of all, how do you and the team stay ahead of that? That must be quite a challenge. But also, what are the key focal points that you suggest to customers and leaders to strengthen their security posture?
That's a great question. Candidly, Evan, it is very much a cat and mouse game. And I'm sorry to say that in many cases, the mouse is winning. And so if you look at the statistics over the last 2 years, 2/3 of all organizations in the United States alone have been hacked, and 1/3 of those paid ransomware. And so this problem is obviously of epidemic proportions, and it's even getting more challenging. Part of the challenge is, as I mentioned, the advent of cloud has given a lot of agility, flexibility for organizations to enable digital transformation. On the downside, though, it's a shared responsibility model. And nefarious actors, whether they're nation state or otherwise, understand very well the weakness of that sort of architecture, and they're exploiting it. Most specifically, when it comes to east-west or lateral movement. Many organizations have put a big investment into the security, particularly of the north-south traffic, or traffic from the endpoint, inside the network or through the perimeter firewalls into the data center. There's been a lot less focus on securing inside the data center application layer itself. I don't just mean the physical data center. I mean the application traffic that operates between workloads, say legacy workloads in the physical data center, inside containers or inter-container traffic, either in a data center or public cloud, or from the data center right across to public or private cloud. And so those environments, those are generally the areas where a lot of these nefarious actors are actually targeting companies, either through privileged user access hacks or just the standard phishing attack on a device inside the enterprise that has access to an application server in the data center. They establish a command and control point, and then they can move laterally pretty much at will. And so Gigamon's got the solution to ensure all those blind spots will disappear. We have the capability of providing this deep observability across all workloads, regardless where they are, inside containers, in private clouds, in colos, in physical data centers, and across those public cloud environments. Just recently, we announced a technology called Pre-cryption, and the reason we did that was over 92% of all attackers use encryption themselves to remain hidden inside the organization. So they're somewhat obtusely using the technology that's designed to prevent people from seeing the traffic flow from being seen themselves. And that pernicious approach has unfortunately been very, very successful in many of the hacks that have been publicized, and the vast majority of those that yet remain kind of silent, because over 35% of customers generally are not aware that their networks have been compromised. And that's a very big concern.
Wow, that's interesting indeed. AI is top of mind to all of us these days. But what is your thinking around AI enhancing cloud security? And you've been at this for some time, but what is your approach to integrating AI within your various solutions?
That's a great question. First off, there are a lot of benefits to AI. I think there are rightfully a lot of concerns about the misuse of AI as well. I suspect we'll see a lot more legislation around the use and deployment of AI on a go-forward basis. It's certainly top of mind for many of the politicians, not just here in the United States, but a lot of the countries around the world. But like anything else, there are also a lot of very useful elements to AI. One of the great use cases, of course, is of having, triage, the ability for the system to triage, the multiplicity of events and logs that occur inside existing networks. I had lunch recently with the CEO of one of the top 10 banks, and within that conversation, he informed me that they get over 100 million events a day. And so one
Wow.
wonders, how is it possible to be able to sort through that level of logging in order to figure out what's going on inside the network? It's just simply not possible. And so leveraging a lot of these great AI tools will enable us to sort the wheat from the chaff, as it were, and make sure we can triage into really important issues versus issues that just may never be dealt with, or the AI system actually deals with themselves. And so there's an emergence of a lot of those tools that will help organizations of all types, including ourselves, in terms of the security of the enterprise. Secondarily, in terms of how we help, if you remember, Gigamon has been around to be able to look at all traffic that occurs in the network, north, south, and east, west. That's a huge volume of traffic that occurs on an instantaneous basis. Our role is to simplify, reduce, and optimize those traffic streams. We have very advanced algorithms to ensure that we can extract the correct metadata out of the traffic flow. And by feeding a more precise element of telemetry, that improves the hit rate of these AI engines. Simply put, we improve the signal to noise ratio of the telemetry. So instead of the AI tool or even existing SIMs today getting every piece of information across the organization at any one time, which is of no use, because it's like trying to read the entire Library of Congress in an afternoon, not very practical, we reduce dramatically up to 98% of the amount of traffic that we see across the infrastructure. And so it's that 2%, which is obviously 50 times more efficient, for example, that the AI tool would have to process and then have further triage. And so that increases the capability of the organization to actually catch bad stuff and prevent it from happening. And so very simply put, it's like in organizations, there's an infinite number of ways these organizations can be targeted and attacked. It just takes the hacker one way to get in. Our job, along with obviously our partners, is to ensure that we minimize the number of ways they can get access to the network. And when they do, we catch them as they're doing it, not when they've encrypted the contents of the infrastructure and have a ransomware demand to the company. That's our job.
Wow, job one. So you've had a fantastic 90 days. I've been following all the news and announcements and innovations. Any direction on the future, the next 90 days or beyond? What are you interested in, excited for, watching with interest around this whole network security observability space?
Well, I mentioned just briefly, Evan, that we announced our pre-cryption technology. We're super excited about that, by the way, because decryption is a very important component to security. As I mentioned, well over 92% of the threats occur inside encrypted traffic streams. It's true to say that not all organizations do what's often referred to as break and inspect, or the ability to decrypt traffic on the north-south traffic stream to make sure the traffic coming into the organization is fully secure and it doesn't have hidden threats. What's even less obvious is that a very tiny percentage of organizations do the same thing on lateral movement or the east-west traffic across applications. And so Gigamon invented this pre-cryption technology by leveraging a component of the Linux kernel, eBPF, or the Extended Berkeley Packet Filter standard, that enables us to capture traffic before it gets encrypted by the application or after the application does the decryption. And so what that means is by deploying just a small piece of Gigamon software in each of these application servers, you can get full clear text access to what's going on an east-west basis.
Oh,
That
wow.
creates a much more secure environment. And in actual fact, if organizations want to adhere to the zero trust architecture, one of the requirements of zero trust is to have continuous visibility on east-west traffic. If you use Gigamon, then check. And secondarily, also inside encrypted traffic streams. And again, in that case, you Gigamon check. And so we think Gigamon Pre-cryption technology, we've had great announcements, you mentioned, the last 90 days. There's been a lot of very positive reaction from the market and from leading experts. It's our mission now to make sure all of our customers, and potentially those who are not customers of ours yet, really get to understand this technology and can leverage it to the greatest advantage.
Oh, it's a wonderful mission. And I've had the privilege of meeting and chatting with a number of your business and tech leaders. Really a phenomenal team. Give us a peek behind the curtain to your success on the culture side. What's happening there when the curtains are closed? Some phenomenal teamwork. It looks like.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. That's a great, somewhat of a softball question to me, so thank you for that one. All jokes aside, we refer to Gigamon employees, we're all Gigamonsters. And one Gigamon is our cultural philosophy inside the company. One Gigamon simply means everyone's job, myself, right through the rest of the Gigamonsters, our job is there to serve the company. It's to make the company successful. Secondarily, our job then is to make our team successful and then
Mm,
ourselves dead last. So you'll never hear terms, Gigamon, like that's not my swim lane or that's not my job.
mm,
Most people say, how can I help you be successful? You also don't hear, hey, we need to do something because someone at this level of seniority says it. You do it because it's the right thing to do. And so everyone knows and wears a badge of honor around one Gigamon. We very quickly swarm together when issues happen within customers. Some customers get compromised or they have challenges or maybe deployment issues, or maybe there's a challenge around getting a product out the door on time. And we swarm as a team together to fix that problem. People come on a cross-functional basis to work together to get the ball over the line. And it's that attitude of can do, must win, where we're focused on collaboration, employees first, with true innovation, but with a layer of authentic feedback. That is the core and mission of One Gigamon. And I candidly believe in my 5.5 years here and many other years in other companies, the culture of Gigamon is truly unique, but it's really hard to maintain. It means we all have to be true to the culture every single day. We can't let our guard down for a single minute. We must ensure that it is maintained. As new Gigamonsters join the ranks, it's our job to ensure that we all comply and we learn the way we do what we do. And so my view is there are many great things in terms of what we do as an organization. Your culture, your core values are how you do it. And in this company, it's much more important how you do what you do than what you do. And that's how we keep our culture alive.
wow, wonderful thought. Well, one last question. We're also hyper connected. I imagine you more than anyone these days. What do you do to switch off, to tune out, to turn off, to get away from it all? Or do you these days? Is the mission too important?
You know, it's very important to get a decent work life
Mm.
balance. I guess being also authentic, which is another one of our core values. I'm sure my wife, my family would say, not so sure, Dad, that you do that very, very well. So I can't pretend I do. We have obviously a global business that our operations run on a 360 basis, but it's incredibly important to get downtime. And so for me, downtime comes in different formats. Sometimes it's the ability to read an interesting book when I fly.
Mm.
Those who know me very well, and this is a little secret that I'm broadcasting to the world, I'm a big fan of Below Deck. As a former offshore sailing guide and racer, I watch the
Hilarious.
show,
Yeah.
and not intended to insult anyone, but oftentimes my wife or my adult children will wonder, why are you watching the show, Dad? It seems kind of a little bit tongue in cheek. But I have to say, it's great for kind of numbing the brain and having me just kind of enjoy and I guess regenerate. But you know, doing things like even walking my son's dog. He's got a husky, Henny. She's a crazy dog, but you could walk her 20 miles and she wants to walk another 20. You know, those things are great just for regenerating and making sure that, you know, we can have our best selves as we turn up in the morning.
Yes, indeed. Fresh air does wonderful things. Thanks so much for joining us and sharing your vision and direction with the viewers. And thanks everyone for watching. Reach out to Gigamon with any questions, comments. They do a great job on social media. Thanks, Shane.
Thank you very much.